Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here this afternoon as we inch closer to Bengals and Steelers on Sunday, and what no doubt is a must-win game for the Cincinnati Bengals if they hope to keep their season alive and try to make a push into the playoffs. Probably need some help, but if they can run the table, who knows? This team does still have a little bit of life. But we will be live tomorrow for our watch party around noon, and we're trying to make this the biggest watch party we have done yet. We had an awesome time before the bye week when the Bengals took on the Los Angeles Chargers. Really broke all kinds of records here at Bengals Breakdown. We're going to try to one-up that here this week, and I think we can do it because I know a lot of people are fired up about this matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers. Heated rivalry, no doubt. Certainly a big game for Cincinnati, and hopefully the Bengals can put on a good performance for the home crowd and get the job done. So hit that sub button if you have not done so already. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about 10 players to watch, 10 players to keep an eye on in this football game. 5 from the Cincinnati Bengals and 5 from the Pittsburgh Steelers. We used to do these videos all the time at the beginning of the season, kind of gone away from them a little bit, but pretty standard. Just going to be talking about 10 players to keep an eye on in this game. 10 guys that I believe are really going to have a significant impact in terms of what happens in this football game. So let's start with Cincinnati, and let's start with Cam Taylor-Britt. Look, Cam Taylor-Britt has had really an up-and-down season. I think a lot of people, coaches, fans, fellow players, thought Cam Taylor-Britt was really going to be a lockdown cornerback type 1 in this league. And this year he really has regressed. We've seen him get benched twice. Saw him get benched against Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago, as well as the Carolina game earlier in the season. But with the injury to DJ Turner, he is getting forced into action, and he's going to be a guy that has to step up and play well for Cincinnati in this football game, no doubt about it. We'll see if he's matched up on Pickens. We'll talk about Pickens a little bit later on in today's show. But Cam Taylor-Britt, a guy on the defense that needs to play well for Cincinnati, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense for the Bengals offensively. Joe Burrow and the offense, it's unrealistic to think that they can get the job done by themselves. The defense needs to step up, create some stops. Cam Taylor-Britt's really got to be locked in, disciplined with his assignments, and ready to make some big plays for the Bengals on defense. Flipping to the Pittsburgh Steelers side of things here. Look, TJ Watt, Pittsburgh's best player, absolutely no doubt about that. You can make the argument. He is the best defensive player in the National Football League, and I do believe he is the odds-on favorite at this point to win the Defensive Player of the Year in the National Football League. This is a guy that has an ability to completely wreck a football game. Really no other way around it. We've seen him do it against Cincinnati in the past when it comes to sacking Joe Burrow. We've even seen him pick Joe Burrow off, get his hands up there, create some PBUs. For whatever reason, he always is really good at doing that against the Cincinnati Bengals. So having an answer for him will be critical if Cincinnati wants to win this game. We saw Cleveland do a good job of kind of taking care of him and limiting him last week on Thursday in that snow game, and Cincinnati's really going to have to take a page out of that book if they hope to be competitive in this game and prevent TJ Watt from completely wrecking it. Again, something he certainly has the ability of doing. Leads us to the pinned comment of today's video. What is your concern level with TJ Watt? Scale it for us in the comment section, 1 to 10, 10 being you are freaking out, 1 being I'm not really worried at all. I think I'm definitely in that 8-ish range. He really is a guy that can just be an absolute force to be reckoned with and create all kinds of problems for opposing offenses. So get down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section and sound off for us. Back to Cincinnati here, Jamar Chase. Look, when I think about Jamar Chase and his abilities and kind of his style of play, I feel like he rises to the occasion the most in these kinds of games. Heated rivalry games, physical football games, going to be cold on Sunday as well. I feel like Jamar, when he's playing with the Ravens and the Steelers, always very, very dangerous. Bengals are going to need him to step up. He's got to be big in this game. It's got to be kind of a spread the wealth thing per usual with Joe Burrow, but got to find ways to create some explosives down the field with number one, as well as get the ball into his hands early, something we always preach here on the show. I'm a big believer. Got to get the ball in your star players' hands early in the game to get them in the flow of the game. So that'll be up to ZT to scheme some ways to get some easy opportunities early in the game, give him some opportunities to create some plays in space and use his legs, because we've really seen him do some incredible stuff in the open field. Patrick Queen, of course, former teammates with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow at LSU. This is a really good linebacker. Patrick Queen, of course, spent some time with the Ravens, stays in the division, playing Joe Burrow here on the Pittsburgh Steelers here. So it's going to be kind of weird kind of seeing Patrick Queen here as a Pittsburgh Steeler in this football game. But I think Patrick Queen's a real cerebral linebacker. He always is making good decisions, and he's a really physical guy too as well. So you heard the stories about him and Joe Burrow getting into fights when they were at LSU. He's going to be hunting Joe down in this game. Absolutely no doubt about that. So he's going to, Bengals are going to have a plan for him as well. It's going to be a big game for the offensive line. And hopefully they have Orlando Brown Jr. back tomorrow for this football game, and he can really have a positive impact on things offensively. Patrick Queen's certainly a guy to keep an eye on. Sam Hubbard really needs to step up in this game right now as of filming. Ohio State and Michigan are playing, and of course Sam Hubbard is a Buckeye, so maybe if the Buckeyes can finally beat Michigan, and that could fire up Sam Hubbard to play well the following day, right? But Sam Hubbard, I'm not going to sit here and say he's washed, but he's just, as far as pressuring the quarterback, it hasn't been what it needs to be for Cincinnati. And even when Sam Hubbard was really an elite player, that really wasn't his MO, is rushing the quarterback. But when you play that defensive end spot, and I know they've used him in a lot of versatile ways here this season, even dropping him back in coverage sometimes. So they've really asked a lot of him. For the most part, he stepped up, but they just don't have anybody besides Hendrickson that can get pressure on the quarterback. Russell Wilson, of course, doesn't run as much as he used to, but he's still very agile back there in the pocket and get outside, make some plays. So Sam Hubbard's going to have a big game for Cincinnati, and he's had some big games against Pittsburgh in the past, so I've got some optimism that he can make that happen on Sunday afternoon. We'll continue with our players to watch here in a moment, but first, I want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Fanatics. Let you guys know that the Bengals sideline hats are on sale now. Really encourage you guys to get over there and check out some of these hats. I've got a few of these myself. Really swaggy, really cool hats here. And, these are some of the hats that you see Zach Taylor and the coaching staff wearing on the sideline. So would really encourage you guys to head on over to Fanatics and get you some Bengals sideline swag. And that link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video. Again, some Bengals sideline hats. Really would encourage you guys to check those out. All right, 5 more here. George Pickens. Look, George Pickens is such an interesting football player to me, all right, because it seems like he's always making dumb decisions, doing silly things, selfish things, saying the wrong things in the media, and he's just really, especially as a Bengals fan, he's just not really a likable player, if we're going to be completely honest. But his talent, you can't question his talent whatsoever. It seems like week in and week out, he's always making some crazy catch. Ball goes up in the air, and he somehow brings it home. So I think the Bengals really are going to have a plan for him. We'll see who is on him, whether it's Taylor-Britt, the rookie Josh Newton, or a combination of the both. Mike Hilton has to get on him at all. Obviously, more of that nickel spot, so probably unlikely. But regardless, the DBs for Cincinnati are going to have an answer for George Pickens, because you might not like him. I personally am not his biggest fan, but he is an outstanding football player, and it seems like him and Russ really have a good connection, certainly better than the connection he had with Justin Fields. That moon ball from Russ, we've seen that a little bit more in recent weeks. That's kind of allowed Pittsburgh's offense to really get up to speed and start doing some dynamic things. And look, the Bengals are going to have an answer for George Pickens. Cannot let this guy absolutely dominate them. Hate to say it, but he has the ability to do that. Absolutely an incredible talent is George Pickens. Chase Brown running the football for Cincinnati. Running the football for this Bengals team this year has kind of been an up and down story. I think we've seen them do it well in some games, and I think we've seen them do it terrible in some games as well. We talked about TJ Watt. We talked about Patrick Queen. Didn't even mention Cameron Hayward as well. This front from Pittsburgh is going to present all kinds of challenges for Cincinnati, and if Joe Burrow's got to drop back and throw it 50-plus times, that's not going to work against this Mike Tomlin defense. They're going to have to create a balanced attack, and that starts, of course, with Chase Brown. Obviously, the offensive line got to do a good job of creating some openings for him, but their ability to run the football in this game, I think, is going to dictate the outcome of this football game, because if they're not in that range where they're at least getting, 80 or so yards on the ground, certainly I think if they get over 100, they'll be in a good spot to win. But if they roll out there and rush for 50 yards against this Pittsburgh team, it's not going to end well for Cincinnati. Hopefully Chase Brown is up for the challenge and he can handle the bulk of the workload, because that's really what it's been like ever since Zach Moss went down. Another opportunity for you guys to get involved with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. Who you got? Let me know in the comments section. Be honest with us. Type B if you think it is the Cincinnati Bengals in terms of who's going to come out on top in this football game. Type S if you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Be honest with us in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Throwing a kicker on this list. No, it is not Evan McPherson. Going to look at the other side here and Chris Boswell. It really feels like Chris Boswell, every time he plays the Cincinnati Bengals, goes out there and makes kicks. So, look, if this finds a way to be a low-scoring game, which it kind of has the feel of doing so just because it's just Bengals, Steelers, AFC North, cold weather football, hopefully the Bengals can put a ton of points up on the board. But if it is low-scoring, the kicking game is going to be critical, and you got to give the edge to Pittsburgh considering the struggles of Evan McPherson. Again, Boswell against the Cincinnati Bengals feels like he is always stepping up to the challenge and delivering and doing a phenomenal job making kicks. A couple of years ago, he did miss the one when Pittsburgh had an opportunity to win, and then later in overtime, he put it through. I believe that was a Week 1 game several weeks ago. Pretty crazy game. But Boswell's been a good kicker for a long time. It feels like he's dominated the Bengals. So if they get in a kicking competition, if the offense isn't able to get into the end zone, look out. That could spell trouble for Cincinnati. Last player here for the Bengals. Had to put QB1 on here, right? A lot has been made this week about the wrist. First time he's had a cold weather game. It's going to be below freezing. I believe last I looked, the high is 33 degrees. That's the high. So it is going to be a chilly game here at Paycor Stadium on the banks of the Ohio River. And Joe Burrow is going to have to do a good job of managing that wrist. I'm sure he'll have a plan in place. I'm sure he already has one in place by this point. But there's really no room for error. It's unfortunate and unfair, quite honestly, to put that kind of pressure on Joe Burrow. But we've said it really all season long. If Burrow doesn't play well, this team has no shot whatsoever. Luckily for Cincinnati, he's played well pretty much every single week besides Week 1. So I got a lot of confidence in seeing Joe Burrow play football, and that's also something we should just be thankful for, right? I know the Bengals season isn't in the best possible spot right now, but seeing number 9 go out there and play quarterback for the city of Cincinnati is something that we should never take for granted because it is absolutely a sight to behold. Last player, Minkah Fitzpatrick, another guy that seems like he's had a lot of success against the Cincinnati Bengals football team in the past. There at that safety position, he's a guy that can create some turnovers as well as just flat out lay the wood. It's going to be a really physical game, and you're going to see that physicality there from the safety positions. It feels like throughout my entire life, the Steelers have always had guys that can play the safety position really well. Of course, Troy Polamalu, the most noteworthy guy that comes to mind. But Minkah Fitzpatrick has been a real staple to Mike Tomlin's defense, and he has done a tremendous job there at that safety position. And the Bengals, Joe Burrow, are going to have to be smart with the football. He's not a safety that you want to go out there and challenge because his ball skills are incredible as well, and he'll pick you off, something he's done to Joe Burrow in the past. That's kind of our list of 10 players to keep an eye on in this game. Just quick little show for you guys. Had to mention these 10 guys because I do believe that they're going to be the 10 main guys that are going to dictate the outcome of this football game. Before we get out of here, I want to remind you guys to give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_. All of our Bengals Breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page, as well as all injury updates from the beat reporters, and, of course, my own personal thoughts and opinions as well. So really help me out trying to get up to 600 followers. Got a long ways to go. But give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_.